spiked. I've been spiked twice. There's a possible third time. But there's a certain amount of, I think, a shaming towards spiking. I don't accept drinks from strangers. I watch the waiter pour my drink. I hold my hand over my drink at all times.
I actually kicked the door in. She was lying on the floor. Her eyes rolled into her head. She couldn't speak. If I got hold of him, I'd strangle him. I really would.
There may well be deaths from having something put in a drink that aren't in the public eye.
Drink spiking reports to police forces across the UK have doubled in 3 years. I want to know what drugs are used in spiking attacks, why people do it, and what effect it has on people's lives.
Dizzy, can you walk me through the first time that you were spiked?
It was actually my first time going to like a bougie, like fancy, like London club. I never wear heels really, and they were like slightly too big at the back. The only place in this club where you could sit down was at tables, and so there was these two guys at this one table. I'll just ask these guys like just to sit down while I'm waiting for my friends in the bathroom. Drinks came along, and I don't normally accept drinks from strangers, but because it was like a bottle service, so a waiter was pouring the drink for me, I was like, okay, that's fine. I keep an eye on my drinks. But at some point in the night, obviously, something was put through my fingers and I was spiked. So my friend couldn't find me. I went missing for a bit of the night and he was looking for me. I wasn't answering my phone. A bouncer said, your friend has been spiked and someone else has taken her to a taxi. And my friend was confused because it was only those two, and he was like, what friend? Went looking for me down an alleyway by the club, and this guy, this strange man I was sitting at a table with, was trying to put me into a cab.
I found talking to victims afterwards when I've been doing testing, they rack their brains, they're worried about it, they're very, very anxious, they can't remember. It really changes their life and they need an answer, really.
What kind of drugs are being used in spiking attacks?
They vary a lot. I mean, the traditional one is Rohypnol. There are lots of benzodiazepines, lots of different tablets. You can buy these on the internet. You can use GHB, you can use a whole range of things right through to now LSD. Mostly they make people feel really drowsy, especially with alcohol, and they become quite compliant.
Are you going to drink the water for me?
This video shows Lauren Collins after her drink was spiked at Leeds Festival in 2017. She thinks a man put drugs in her drink after he approached her for a lighter. Within 20 minutes, she'd vomited and passed out. Her husband took this video when they were back in their tent and he gave her first aid. Lauren says the incident still gives her anxiety and she hasn't been out drinking much since. I asked Dizzy why she thinks spiking attacks happen.
I think sometimes it's to rape, I think sometimes it's for amusement, I think sometimes just to, I don't know, people must get some kind of thrill out of it, I guess, because it happens so much. I don't think it's fair to say it's my fault for accepting a drink from someone. Spiking is about power, and I think the men that go to these clubs are very wealthy, they pay thousands of pounds to be there, and girls are let in a lot cheaper. There's more of that kind of, just like possession of women.
This video shows an alleged spiking caught on camera at a festival in Brazil. Watch the woman's cut. Luckily, the woman realised she'd been spiked when she watched back this selfie.
I think the reporting of this offence in particular is massively underreported at the moment. Obviously it causes me great concern. Now what I will say is in a lot of cases where spiking offences have been either suspected or reported to the police, often it is the case that they've actually been spiked, but it's not with any sort of illegal substance. It's with alcohol. So if you believe you're drinking a pint of lager, for instance, it may be that you are, but somebody's added a spirit of vodka or something like that that has no smell, and that could be in your drink. So it could be spiked, but it could actually just be spiked with alcohol rather than an illegal substance.
If you could talk to someone that's spiked drinks in the past, what could you say to them now?
I'd turn around and tell them, do they really know what they're doing? At the end of the day, they actually could kill somebody. If I got hold of him, I'd strangle him. I really would, because these people are just lowlifes.
Tell me about what you've seen.
I actually went to the ladies' toilet because a friend was looking for her, I actually kicked the door in. She was lying on the floor, unconscious. But looking at her, from my experience, I knew that she'd been spiked. Her eyes rolled into her head. She couldn't speak. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know how she got there. So I stayed with her, got the door staff to ring an ambulance and the police, and I contacted her mother to let her know that she wasn't coming home that night, that she was going straight to hospital because she'd been spiked.
You say it happens so much. How many of your friends do you think have been spiked?
A lot. I couldn't even count. I think it's, yeah, too many. I think I'd say fewer haven't been spiked than have been. It's a lot more common, I think, than people expect.
Well, I've had a case that I've heard of, wasn't personally involved, but the analysis of a urine sample didn't show anything. She was convinced, absolutely convinced, that something had happened to her, and she took her own life in the finish.
The drugs back in the 80s and 90s, they was just fun drugs that people used to take just to be happy. But obviously dealers and the drug makers have made it profitable that they can actually do this and destroy somebody, destroy their life.
Sadly, the cases that are reported to us are because they end in a serious sexual offence. I believe there are probably occasions where people believe they may have been spiked, but because they've got home safely or somebody's taken care of them and looked after them, that offence doesn't get reported because nothing happened.
Most of my friends have been spiked, so at the time I didn't think of it as that big of a deal to report, and I was almost like, what are they going to do? So I was lucky I got away safely, to be honest. I think if you're going to spike someone, you have some psychological issues.
It can ruin their life. They go through it day to day, they remember it. It's nothing that can shake off. They've got to live with it.
There may well be deaths from having something put in a drink that aren't in the public eye. It's a very dangerous thing to do.